Wisdom is knowing we are all one. Love is what it feels like. And compassion is what it acts like. Ethan Walker III.
Oh,
Beautiful.
that's good.
Really?
Isn't that a nice one?
Yeah, read that one again.
Wisdom is knowing we are all one. Love is what it feels like. And compassion is what it acts like.
Yeah,
Ethan.
Excellent.
excellent, really. They said there's another saying, but this is a different definitions of the same words. Knowledge is the understanding of many things. Wisdom is the understanding of one thing.
That's a good one too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have another one from Buddha.
Yeah,
Thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become habits, habits become character. Watch your character, or it becomes your destiny. Buddha.
it becomes your
Destiny.
destiny. Wow, those are
Yeah.
yeah. Read it. Say that one again. That's great.
Thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become habits, habits become character. Watch your character, or it becomes your destiny. Buddha.
Yeah. You know, I've said this before, but might bear repeating. I once asked Darwin how he came down on free will and predestination.
Mm.
And he said, well, what do you think? And I came up with various combinations. But the one he signed off on was spontaneous predestination.
Spontaneous.
Spontaneous predestination.
Oh, okay.
Now here's how that breaks down. Love predated creation. Love predated creation. It is free, but creation is predestined. So basically, what you have is a black and white movie
Mm-hmm.
that all unfolds, but we with love can put in the colors.
Ah,
You know, in other words, it's not a passive predestination. This moment that we're here could be very boring, or it could be full of color and life, depending on how much love we're going to put into this.
Hmm.
Does that make?
Yes, yes. Very
I
much.
mean, it's destined that we're here on this screen, looking at each other. But then, what are we going to do with it?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
just
Yeah,
oh my God, not
yeah.
another Zoom session. Oh my God, and Ronnie Greenstein is there. Oh my God, him again. You know,
Oh, I
Isn't
don't
it
know.
isn't it sort of like a movie script too? I mean, if it was a
yeah,
movie script, it's already written. It's
yeah,
there. All
Mhm.
the actors and the
yeah,
director has to do is just uh, say roll them, and see what happens. But it can take on various forms. Even the lines that an actor has can be delivered in so many
yeah,
different ways to
exactly.
give something, give a different sort of sensibility of it, and maybe draw from the other actor a different quality one night, on a stage play, let's say.
Yeah,
So there is room for creativity.
yeah. What Darwin was thinking is that it's the love that gives it the creativity and the
Right.
freshness. I mean, love can be spontaneous. Well, so it can. Here's a line from Monty where she said, "The script has already been written. We're just trying to remember our lines."
I like that.
Yeah,
I
we're
might
trying to
use that.
deliver our lines, you know, the way the director had hoped we would deliver them.
Was listening to somebody give a talk one time, and I wrote down notes, and this was like the main quote that he wanted to deliver, and I used it as the refrain line, the refrain for the song.
Yeah.
And I like the way it came out. It's one of the last songs I actually composed, which is now goes back a ways. I haven't been composing very many, except for the quotes of Baba's that I've come to have tunes for. But this one is a little different. So, if I continue to think as I have been thinking, I will continue to act as I have been acting. And if I continue to act as I have been acting, I will continue to get the same results. But if I change these patterns of how I've been thinking and become aware of values that have been conflicting, I could pull myself out of this bog in which I've been sinking and enjoy the freedom to answer the call of my Lord. But if I continue to think as I have been thinking, I will continue to act as I have been acting. And if I continue to act as I have been acting, I will continue to get the same results. And now I can see life is happening in me, not to me. And the world's so oppressive, the light of this truth dispels the dark and the gloomy. The world's so oppressive and imposing now passes right through me. For all along it was merely a phantom at play with my Lord. But if I continue to think as I have been thinking, I will continue to act as I have been acting. And if I continue to act as I have been acting, I will continue to get the same results. Life is becoming less about having and doing and more about being, with all of life's problem pots stewing, cooking up humble pie and lessons on which to be chewing, to nourish and help me grow closer to my Lord. But if I continue to think as I have been thinking, I will continue to act as I have been acting. And if I continue to act as I have been acting, I will continue to get the same results. Last verse. Now practice is really the key. It is essential. For principles alone, no, they only hold potential. And right attitude turns that key, and eventually embodied forms to take the place of the old. Ooh, if I continue to think as I have been thinking, I will continue to act as I have been acting. And if I continue to act as I have been acting, I will continue to get the same. Continue to get the same. Continue to get the same results.
Excellent, Ronnie. That's beautiful. Great words.
I had fun coming up with this.
That reminds me of the Einstein quote, you can't solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No problem, can be solved with the same consciousness that went into creating it. I mean, that's why when people go to India or they come to the center, when they've got some great turmoil in their life, when you kind of get to Mehrabad or you get to the center, you get into an expanded state, and so your problem now is much smaller because your consciousness has expanded. I've had that happen many times. I'd be right in the completely inside of a problem, mental turmoil, and I'd get to India, and it would kind of, not that it would shrink, my consciousness would expand, and so I would see this thing out in front of me. Oh, I can figure out what to do with this. And it's kind of what bears out what Einstein said. Get larger than the problem. But normally our consciousness shrinks to the size of the problem. And then we use the same kind of tools, or the same kind of mess that created the thing, Yeah.
There's a little quote that I made a little tune to that Baba gave us. It goes like this: don't let little things disturb you. Don't let little things disturb you. Rise above them. Be big. Be generous. And leave the rest to me.
Yeah, that's a great quote. Be big-hearted. Be big-hearted. There's another place in this, the latest book, the Intimate Times in Guru Prasad. I'm kind of paraphrasing Baba, but Baba says, and Darwin always talks about this too, our consciousness is really unlimited. But then we look down and we see this mind, and we say, oh, hey, wonder what this is about. And then Baba says, as soon as you identify with that mind, he says you become a person. If you wouldn't do that, you would remain infinite. But we say, oh, wow, that's an interesting character down there. I wonder who that is. Bam! And then you are that person.
It is not what the world thinks about you that matters, but what God knows about you that matters.
And, as uncomfortable as it might be to be known, it's a heck of a lot better than not being known. That Baba knows us thoroughly, as embarrassing as it might be. That's preferable than feeling that you're not known and you're operating, going around kind of unseen, which is kind of the life before Baba for a lot of people. We just went through this part on completeness, and I'm thinking tonight of kind of exploring the whole idea of completeness, which is another way of thinking of the goal as is completeness or wholeness. And Baba as you know, says we're already complete. But we set up all of these, we buy into a whole lot of beliefs that, well, you're not complete until this happens, until you get your college degree, till your dad finally approves of your behavior, till you finally settle this legal case. You know, everything is kind of, the completeness is kind of future, out in the future there somewhere. And it's very hard not to buy into that whole thing. And
Is that called
Mandalay have
conditioned
us.
mind?
What's that?
Is that called conditioned mind?
Yeah, yeah. Conditioned happiness, conditioned completeness. You know, certain conditions. But it's a, and there's a way of staying in completeness that I kind of gathered from the Mandalay. You know, and not be looking toward the future to complete you, or even living off the past when you felt you were a little more complete than you are in the present. Yeah. Very, very important subject, I would say. What's that line where Baba says, the illusion that most aspirants somehow make is the idea that the infinite truth is in the future, and that all of life is just a stepping stones to that future. I mean, I'm paraphrasing Baba's discourse. Yeah. Do you folks all feel complete right now?
I feel complete with ice cream.
And you always have some in your freezer.
Yeah.
Just for that.
Yeah.
I just had a chipmunk enter my house, and he thinks he was complete, but then he just turned around and left.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And good that he left, because you would have felt incomplete if he hadn't left. Your house, your house would not have been completely intact with that thing running around at night. Yeah. There's a line that I like. Speaking of, sometimes you can try to, your completeness is held up by your regrets about the past. You know, I'll never get over this. I'll never be forgiven for this. But there's a line that this one lady wrote that I like. She says, "Give up all hope of a better past." Give up all hope of a better past. And then there's Yogi Berra. The future just ain't what it used to be. That makes sense too. Let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba. I'll just say a few words here, and I have a song written by a buddy of mine. It's called To Castine Street. And just to go back into the whole down memory lane, back in the late 60s, this buddy of mine and I headed off from Seattle, across the country, to look up some of our old college buddies. And one of them lived in upstate New York, and when we were up there, we kind of saw that it was right near Schenectady, New York. Schenectady. And we thought, oh, you know, there's some elderly couple that lives up here who met Baba. And we were driving one day, and we pulled into a one of these outside phone booths, and we looked up in the phone book, you know, and found Darwin and Jean Shaw, 2 Castine Street, and the number. And then, so I suddenly got very cold feet. I was like, they don't know us from Adam, you know. But my buddy, he just kind of went ahead and dialed and got Darwin on the phone, and he mumbled a few things, and Darwin said, "No, come right over." So we, hopped in our car, went right over, and when we stepped into their house was like the lagoon cabin. I mean, it was so full of Baba's love. I mean, they had meetings there for decades and decades. The earliest meeting, not necessarily in that house, but the earliest meetings in this country were held by the Shahs back in 1934. But anyway, this was a beautiful, the atmosphere was so wonderful, and we hadn't actually heard so many direct stories of Baba, and they had met Baba in the 30s. So we were there for about 3.5 hours. And when we left, as we were driving away, we thought, hey, we don't have any particular place we're going. Why don't we just put our suitcases down here and let's just live here and go to their meetings? We heard that there were, that they had these great meetings. So we did that, and Darwin got us a couple of jobs, and then the rest is history. We're living in Schenectady. And a lot of different people came to these meetings from all over the Northeast, from New York. People would come. Wow, but anyway, so this buddy of mine, Ken Rickstad, he wrote this song, and Angela is, she's going to play it.
Huh? Ready?
Let me just see if there's anybody. I want to see if there's anybody who used to go to those meetings that I see. Hugh Flick isn't here. Robin, did you ever go up to those meetings?
No.
What about Martha?
I did not.
No, I met the Buffalo group later.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so this is kind of a song dedicated to 2 Castine Street. It was a little cul-de-sac.
Somewhere in the 1960s, Baba turned some keys. All at once, a long-haired bunch started falling from the trees. Well, they were not too bright or wrapped too tight. Some were none too clean, but they got their stuff together enough to find the house at 2 Castine. The house at 2 Castine, the house at 2 Castine. Down at the back of a cul-de-sac was a magic mystic scene. The house at 2 Castine, Darwin, Shaw, and Jean. It was a great big slice of paradise in the house at 2 Castine. On a weekend night when the time was right, they would meet us at the door. We'd go on through, taking off our shoes to a chair or a seat on the floor. Our jaws would drop, our brains would stop, all heaven breaking loose. Completely drowned, then we'd stay around for cookies and apple juice. The house at 2 Castine, the house at 2 Castine. Down at the back of a cul-de-sac was a magic mystic scene. The house at 2 Castine, Darwin, Shaw, and Jean. It was a great big slice of paradise in the house at 2 Castine. We rolled in from Baltimore, from Boston and New York. How that wine began to pour when Darwin pulled the cork. We drank deep and we drank our fill, and it never did run dry. We stayed and overstayed until we finally said goodbye. Goodbye. From that start we split apart, each a separate way. But the riches of that flowing love are alive in us today. We could not believe what we received, and we never can repay. But ours to praise in ringing praise, Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. The house at Two Castine, the house at Two Castine. Down at the back of a cul-de-sac was a magic mystic scene. The house at Two Castine, Darwin, Shaw, and Jean. We found a great big slice of paradise in the house at Two Castine. We found a great big slice of paradise in the house at Two Castine. Two Castine.
I just heard this thing just last week. I had never heard it before. He must have just come out with it.
Incredible. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. I just to mention before we go into this, that atmosphere could be, you could go into such a state of bliss that you never, ever, ever wanted it to end. And so early on, I had a couple of times I would, be in that state, and then I had to go to work on Monday at this nursing home, and the crash landing in this infirmary wing of the nursing home was just too much. So I vowed never to go up again. I always just stayed down at just every day being happy. That was just, it was devastating that would ever have to end. So anyway.
Right. So we are on page 109 of the book. That is, let's see, page 64 of the PDF, section called The Continuous Working of Grace.
The continuous working of grace. This was just a little glimpse of Meher Baba's omnipotence and how his grace works at times. There was never any outward sign between us, but he knew. He knew that I knew what was going on, and I knew that he had done all of this. I find that even though he is out of the physical body, he still works in this mysterious way to sweep away one's sanskaras and to give one a sense of merging with him in total bliss. So I know these things can still happen. There is no need for the wanting machine to keep running. As long as the wanting machine is going, we cannot experience our completeness. It is only when we stop the wanting machine that we stop repudiating the fact that we are already complete. This completeness was revealed to me that day, along with the realization that nothing can be added, because one experiences total bliss. So there is no need to desire to be anything or to have anything, and there is no room left to think of oneself or being advanced or not advanced or anything of that sort, because everyone is complete.
Any comments? So let's see, I'm put this out there. How do you take completeness to be? What does the term completeness mean to you? How would you define what Bob is talking about as far as completeness? Anyone want to venture? Or some experience that they've had where they have felt a completeness.
I might have said this before, but I was in a class and a woman came for 2 sessions, and the second one was like a neti experience, meditation. And, we went through how we have a body, but we're not our body. We have feelings and we have thoughts, but we're not that. And by the end of it, I just had this feeling. It was, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like an electrical current that was a full circle with sort of like sparks and just tremendous energy going out from the center of it. And it was like I knew that I was experiencing my essence and that it was the same as everybody's essence, totally. And I did have a thought. It was way beyond good and bad, but I knew that if everybody would come from that place, there would never be another war. And, but, you know, talking about it this way, it just seems to me that completeness is fully experiencing that there's nothing that we need or that we'll gain, and that we already have everything. Which is why I guess Baba says he doesn't give us anything, he takes it all away so that we can have nothing in the way of that full, total experience of oneness and completeness. That's it.
Yeah, beautiful, Robin.
I recall sitting in Baba's Samadhi for the very first time and having a thought that I had never had before, maybe never since. I don't know. Probably I have had it since, but I was just sitting there by myself, and I recognized that anything in the world could be happening and it would not affect me at all, because I was already, everything was taken care of somehow by just being in Baba's presence in the tomb. I just happened to be in the tomb. I suppose he could have given me that experience at any time. But I felt totally safe and secure and complete, I guess.
Like in a realm that was kind of untouched by the events of the world.
Yeah, I
even though they're still going on.
Any kind of wars or, you know, problems that would arise, it wouldn't matter. Not to say that they wouldn't happen, but it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, it wouldn't touch you in that place where you were at. Yeah,
I suppose it was a new experience.
Prakash?
Jai Baba. Well, this is not my own experience, but I just happened to hear a story by Dr. Wayne Dyer. So he was narrating a story of a man who goes to an ashram in, I think, south of India, Kerala, I believe. And this man is so worried. So he asked the guru there, who's the perhaps a saint, I don't know, but he asked him, so much is going on in the world that is so sad, and the wars and all kinds of nasty things he mentions to him. And he says, how can we fix all this? And then the guru says, all this happens in your world and not in mine. So to me, that tells a lot, basically. It's a state of awareness where nothing really happens, and then obviously you'll feel complete because there's nothing you need anymore. And so, I mean, those words really struck me. Everything, I mean, all that happens that you mentioned, he says, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, happens in your world and not in mine, which was tremendous. I mean, yeah, that's what I gathered from that particular story, Dr. Wayne Dyer.
And it doesn't mean that guru isn't radiating love out to the world. It may be even in a better position to radiate love to make the world a better place, even though he's not in there kind of manipulating the details, you know.
It seems to be like Darwin Shaw mentions a state of total non-wanting. I mean, even the question of non-wanting should not even arise. I mean, that means you're missing something. It's just holding on to the truth, and that truth, and just simply the realization, I guess, is that state of completeness.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, and Wendy.
Good. Okay. I felt that when my friend Rosa, which I think you know, Jeff, we for years went through getting ready for her dropping her body. And it turned out that it was in the winter time, and winters in Canada can be pretty hard. But we had a plan that we wanted, how we wanted it, well, not we, more her than me, to go. Anyway, the long and the short, it was beyond every check mark of what she had longed for. Like I just cannot, and I've done hospice for over 20 years. You know, it doesn't always go the way we want it to go. And when she passed, like everything was, it was like a stillness I have never felt before. And then, you know, family started coming and so on. And, you know, those details are not that important. But anyway, then I had to drive home at night. It was a full moon. And I hardly remember driving home. I was in such a blissed out state. I felt like Baba, you know, when you hear that saying, I gotcha, that's what it felt like. And I don't, that's a completeness to me. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's how I felt, Jay Baba.
Beautiful.
One of the things that that you know that I kind of gathered from the mandali is it comes down to this moment. How much pain can I tolerate in this moment and not want to go to the future or the past or to the bottle, you know, to some escape? It's possible to feel miserable in the present and still experience completeness. But when the pain gets too great, we start fantasizing about a future, or we go back to the past, or we, like Mayor Prasad, you kind of reach in the refrigerator and get some ice cream. No, but the tolerance for pain, not just physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain, I always say I would prefer being miserable in the present and feel complete than in the future or the past or with some present moment escape. You know, and where I'm chasing completeness. If I go to the future, I'm chasing something that will relieve me of this pain, but I'm not going to find it in the future, or I'm going to go back to the past when things were better. But you go after it and you just never get there. They keep moving the goalposts on you. You know, you think, oh wow, I'll get there now. Nope. So completeness is a very the present moment. I mean, they talk about accepting what is, but really accepting it and being able to tolerate it. I mean, Darwin used to tell me, you know, people just are not content today. They can't be content. They're always wanting more. You know, something like if you were to go into their an X-ray of their the brain of many people, you would hear this same thought looping around. I'd rather be somewhere else with someone else doing something else. So anyway, a lot of it has to do with a completeness, has to do with a profound acceptance of the present moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And Robin?
So, but isn't that our drive to be answering the question, who am I? I mean, isn't that just part of the process that we have to all go through to get to the answer of I am God?
Yeah, but the answer, Baba says, is not in the future.
Right.
It's in this moment. That's the thing. So the doorway is from through this moment. But like I say, it's understandable if the pain gets too much. You go to the future or the past or some distraction.
But like if we're not there yet, then that discontent is driving us towards completion.
Yeah.
So it's not all bad. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Part of it.
exactly. No, the discontent drives us to find that place where we are complete. And the disconnect, you could be in your head, and you say, well, I'm discontent up here. Where can I go where I'm more content? You drop down into the heart. And then from the heart into the heart of hearts, you might say. Anyway.
Meher Prasad?
Yeah. In my experience, I think the incompleteness is felt by when we are present, meaning our lower self is asserting, is when we feel that incompleteness. So when we are in a state of forgetfulness in his remembrance, or when we are feeling that when we don't feel ourselves present, I think that's when we feel the completeness, because the completeness is not of the lower self, right? It's of the really of the real self. That's what my view is, because as long as we are present, there is always something about the mind being occupied with some wants or some external things that happen. So as long as those are there, the incompleteness is always felt.
Yeah, excellent. And I mean, of course, if you have Baba in the present, if you're feeling him in the present, there's that he's the embodiment of completeness. So the more we're able to tune into Baba, the more complete we're going to feel, and the more we forget ourselves, like you say.
Baba said that there is a quote that Baba said that when the mind is trained to be quiet or something like that, with all the external stimuli, it arrives at the state of non-wanting. So it can be trained to be quiet in the middle of all the external events and stimuli.
Yeah.
I'll find that quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that quote. And Peter.
All right, hi everybody. As I'm listening, I have quite a bit of background noise here, so bear with me. When I'm contemplating the thought of completeness, I'm thinking about what Robin said and reflecting upon a very short duration of time experience I had where I was fine. I felt complete. I needed nothing. I had everything. And dare I say, one way I defined it is I could die and I'd be okay. I felt very okay. Now, though, if I'm hearing Jeff right, coming from Erich, I'm not surprised that my thinking is so far removed from where Erich is, because it just blows my mind hearing Erich's thinking compared to where a lot of mortal people's are. Were you referring, Jeff, completeness as the most someone can tolerate in the moment without wanting to go into the past and the future? That sounds like a radically different definition of completeness than I had any imagination of. I'll try and be complete with that. Thank you. Pass.
Good question. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be suffering. It could be boredom. But I want to answer that. I just thought we would touch on this because this was what we were the previous sections was on completeness. But Yeah, anything added, and Peter will keep what you have on the back burner.
Ray?
Hi, everybody. Happy Father's Day. My feeling is twofold. When Wendy started to share, I was feeling before, as I do many times, I feel like I feel an emptiness that wasn't good. I was feeling, and I put out to Baba, and I says, Meher Baba. And then Wendy started recounting that story of her friend passing, and say, boom, I felt full, and that brings me to my second point of saying Baba's name, like I just did. I called to him. Baba says his name is powerful, and that really helps me a lot, and it really helped me this time to well, I didn't do anything because I called Bob, and then Bob did it. So that's my comment. Sometimes we want to feel complete, of course, and we're frustrated. Well, I think one of the things that I do is I call out Baba's name and ask him, because he can do it. And he just wants us to give him his, it doesn't say, give me your garbage. So my garbage was, I got this junk here of feeling incomplete, and it's anxiety, and it's like, well, it is here for you. And then he said, give it to me. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent, Ray. Beautiful. These are great methods of coming into completeness.
And Rosalie?
I want to throw this line out because, I am very into Baba speaking through Narina Machabelli, but I think this line is so good. Well, I'll read the line before and then the line. This is from God Has to Be Manifested. And it's like, it's been wonderful to have this particular one during this pandemic. See me live in you in small ways of life, the everyday ritual of selfless harmony. The unsatisfied element in you is God, who needs you to be like him. I frankly love that because it's Baba's need. He wants us to be like him. He needs that. And it's a driving force, I mean, he was the firstborn, but in a way we were all born then too, because we're not different. You and I are not we but one. So it's interesting. But what do you think of that line? Not dissatisfied. Dissatisfied is something else. Unsatisfied, because how can we be satisfied if we're all that and we're thinking like that? It's a great line.
Great, beautiful.
Right. And Elizabeth?
Yeah, I actually was thinking similarly to the way that Rosalie just expressed it, but more theoretically, just thinking about when I think of completeness, I think of the real I, the God being within. And that is the complete part. In the realm of duality, I think we experience a lot of incompleteness. And so when you align yourself in moments or whatever with that, the real soul, capital S, then that is when you can feel completeness.
Yeah.
So essentially when you and God are one, which may happen in moments, or like which Wendy experienced, and I've actually had a similar experience to that before someone passed away, and it was I just happened to remember it when she was talking about, and it was as if I were floating And the next day I found out that somebody very close to me had passed away. But I was carried for sure. I was carried.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, it's as you're kind of saying, it's Bob is the embodiment of completeness. So the more we feel his presence, the more we feel magically complete. A certain measure of completeness.
And Meher Prasad?
Yeah, I'm just going to read Baba's quote here that I tried to remember last time, but was not quite right. When the mind is trained to remain unmoved and balanced in the presence of all external and internal stimuli, it arrives at the state of non-wanting. Of course, the state of non-wanting is basically the state of completeness. But the thing I like here is that Baba says when the mind is trained, which means that you can train the mind to get into this state. And to me, that training basically involves longing for him or longing for love. And that will slowly translate all our other longings or wantings into that one single longing for him or remembering him.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that's the driving force.
From what Meher Prasad just said, training oneself and practice and taking up various practices, I think is essential because we're all challenged by the culture. And I'm saying the culture. I mean, there's many cultures that we're all experiencing different aspects of. But I think one of the main things in the culture today is all about what you want, what you should want, what you want that's different from somebody else wants. And it all becomes quite an ego identity. I think what we want, and if you were to say to many people, don't want anything, it would be absurd. It would be like, well, then just die, because you can't not want. The concept is so far out there. Maybe people who practice meditation might have an idea about not wanting, but mostly it's all about wanting and what you want and how you want to get it. And so we have a tremendous amount of work that Baba has to do to help us to get unhooked from all of that culture. And the culture is definitely there to kind of take us in and get us entangled. So that was my thinking.
I got a deal you just can't refuse.
Yes, Jai Baba, everybody. I was just thinking of my meeting Darwin Shaw in the 70s, and we went to Friendly Ice Cream in Schenectady to have some grilled cheese sandwiches, and I felt the love that Darwin conveyed, and I said, Darwin loves himself. So that's Baba's love, loving himself. So when I went to India and I was talking to the Mandali, this is in the early 70s, I said, I love myself. If I have this love, I can give it to other people. So I guess remembering Baba, that's why Baba always said, remember me, remember me. Eventually it becomes you, and you feel totally complete when you love yourself. So the key to is loving yourself to convey and give that love to others. So that's my experience.
Yeah, that's part of the equation, I would say.
Just a little thing that I learned from hospice that I try to use almost every day. And it's those three pieces, those three questions that are the most important when we're getting ready to die. Did I love well? Was I loved? And did it matter that I was here? And I find asking I don't think I want to wait till then. I think it's one of those trio of questions we could ask ourselves if we want to on a regular basis that would, I find it's helping me to love myself more because I'm pretty hard on myself. So anyway, for what it's worth,
Yeah.
simple 3 questions. Jay Baba.
Beautiful.
Well, learning how to die gracefully is how we learn how to live gracefully.
Okay, let's go on to
Yeah.
spiritual advancement.
All right, page 110, spiritual advancement.
Second, yeah.
Spiritual advancement. As a result of Meher Baba's love gift of restoring my soul to completeness, wherein I was, through his divine grace, blissfully relieved of the burdens of wanting or desiring anything at all, having everything in his love, I came to see that the concept of spiritual advancement is really a misnomer that keeps one's consciousness involved in the illusion of egoic acquisition, however refined. That was a very long sentence. Wow. This concept is predicated on and supported by our sense of incompleteness, which fosters our inclination to gain or achieve something that we think we do not already have. It binds our consciousness to a sense of future fulfillment, thus making us feel dependent on time, which is itself a creation of Maya. There is a difference between spiritual advancement and liberation from the Mayavi illusions that bind us to wanting or desiring, even wanting or desiring spiritual states of consciousness in order to experience fulfillment. Eventually, we will have to face and be blissfully satisfied with our completeness. If we can stop the wanting machine and work in the forest of our sanskaras, shedding the light of truth on them, trying to understand and then dispose of them, with Baba's help, we will gain momentum and move closer toward God, toward Baba within, toward truth, and we will begin to experience our own completeness.
One way of looking at this, what triggers this craving or seeking completeness? Well, there's something triggers it. And what triggers it is our incompleteness, Darwin explains. And how does this incompleteness appear? Because we are identifying our ego with wanting. I want this, I want that, I don't have it. So if I have it in the future, if I can buy this car in next 6 months, I'll be the happiest woman ever, for example. Yeah, needless to say, I don't even drive car. I'm joking. But, so that identifying your identity with what's there is the problem. Part of the problem is because like earlier also he mentioned that we are seeking our happiness outwardly. We're seeking our happiness by our surrounding, by what can the mother or father can give us, what can this friend, how come they didn't do that, how come they didn't remember my birthday, and so on and on and on. But it gets to the point, particularly if you begin to learn more about this creation from Meher Baba's point of view, and how everything is in a state of nothingness. Baba explains that really beautiful in the different books. So we are living in a state of nothingness. So even when we are gaining this and that is nothing, because all we are seeking is nothing, and we are living in a state of nothingness. And this whole journey of consciousness, our whole journey is to find beloved Baba as a complete everything, as a complete everything. Frankly, that's for me is a completeness. And I think I don't think I completely understood what is he talking about momentary completeness, like being, I feel so complete, or the steadiness, the ongoing completeness. I have a feeling that he is talking more about this ongoing completeness, because he says the more that we move toward closing, move closer toward God, and the more that we find Baba within, then we rely on that, because that's the complete happiness, and that's the complete state of, that's a state of completeness. So let's hope for that. Yeah,
excellent. Beautifully framed. Darwin is talking about an abiding state of completeness, and amazing. I once asked Henry Cashowdy, what was Darwin like 30 years ago? I asked him back in, I don't know, probably in the 80s. He said, Darwin is always the same. He's exactly the same as he was. I mean, maybe a little more so, a little more richer, but a lot of other people, they've been through so many changes. Oh, wow, well, you should have seen him in his hippie era. You should have seen him, in their college days. He kind of found that essence and just stayed in that abiding state of Baba's presence. So he didn't change so much as most people who are identified with creation. They go through a lot of changes. So anyway.
Yeah. And Elizabeth.
So the sentence that stuck out for me was the eventually we will have to face and be blissfully satisfied with our completeness. And then the following one: if we can stop the wanting machine and work in the forest of our sanskaras, with Baba's help, we will gain momentum, etc. But it's interesting to me that he tied together stopping the wanting machine and working in the forest of our sanskaras. So I guess it's saying that that one needs to shift focus from wanting, desiring, and look at this forest of sanskaras. Anyway, I'd be interested in any other comments on that.
How to make that turn out of the sanskaras toward Baba.
No, it says from the wanting, from the desires, stop the wanting machine, and then he's tied it to and work in the forest of our sanskaras. So you're turning away from desires and you're turning to working on the forest of sanskaras. This is my understanding, which will help you gain momentum, move closer. But anyway, I'd be interested in other people's further explication.
Okay, yeah. We'll keep that on the menu.
Oh, hi, everybody. Fresh out of the shower, making Father's Day dinner. First of all, it's so good to see you guys. I have been out of range for a couple of weeks and I'm back in. I think this dependence on time thing is really great. It opened up something in me. And Jeff, when you first asked the question about completeness, I was thinking what does that mean to me? It's for me, it's the sense that like everything is already latent in me, and it's has this momentum. Like Darwin says at the end, with Baba's help, we will gain momentum and move closer to God, towards Baba within, towards truth. And I've been feeling that momentum inside and riding on that. And I love this sentence that talks about when this, the second paragraph really, this concept is predicated on and supported by our sense of incompleteness that we think we do not already have. It binds our consciousness to a sense of future fulfillment, making us feel dependent on time, which is itself a creation of Maya. I think that future fulfillment is like the greatest addiction that I've ever felt. Like I can't rest now, or I can only rest because I've done these 5 things today, or these things have happened, or that I'll never be able to feel that rest unless I have a future fulfillment, which is the binding to Maya. And someone else was talking earlier, maybe it was Ray, but about like when there's all this stuff going on in the world and we're not touched by it, which doesn't mean we don't care about it and don't serve it. I think that can be confused with ignorance or non-compassion, but it's not that. I have felt that way a lot about COVID and what's happened in the world. It's like, how can I best serve? Is to be able to be in that state of happiness and oneness now. And so I'm so grateful for the feeling of the momentum of the moment, in the present moment, in the eternal now, and letting myself feel fully fulfilled now, knowing that even that bliss you talked about, Jeff, before going to the nursing home, that's our soul right. That's already in us. It's not some future event. It's what this world gets to spring from. And that's how I think we're transforming in Baba's grace on the planet. Thank you, everybody.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, I realized I didn't need the bliss. Just being everyday happiness was fine enough. I felt complete enough with just being happy. I didn't need to kind of elevate it to up to bliss. That was kind of what I was saying. Okay.
Yeah. Paula?
Okay. The first time I put my head on Baba's feet in the Samadhi in 1986, it was like what I felt like he was caressing my face. It was just the most wonderful, soft feeling. And I felt like he took my mind. And I think about that sometimes because it was like the most restful, most wonderful place to be. It was like I didn't have a mind. And it was kind of great. And I don't know what he did with it, and I don't really care. He can have all of it. But anyway, and then the other thing I was thinking about was worry and wanting are best friends.
Yeah.
They're
bedfellows.
Yep. Yeah. And my kinds of worries are like about my kids, and it's like, are they all right? And all this kind of stuff, And of course I want what's best for them and stuff. But Baba's, like I said, Baba can take my mind and do with it whatever he wants. Anyway, those were my thoughts.
Yeah,
that's
lovely,
a complete
Paula.
place to be with Baba. It's a complete place to be. And I think it's the only complete place to be. And okay, I guess I do want to say this. I slipped on my stairs last week and I fractured 3 vertebrae.
Oh.
So, well, yeah. So it's like they're non-displaced fractures at least, but so Baba was great that way. But it's like, I said, "Oh, Baba," when I was lying there, and it's like it's been hard for me to. It was really weird because it was like before it happened, I felt really connected to Baba. I was reading God Speaks and I felt like he was just wrapping myself with him. But then after this happened, it was like harder to find him, So sometimes, he plays hide and seek. Anyway, yeah. And sometimes it's hard not to be concerned about things, like, will I be able to walk and take care of myself and all that kind of stuff. So worry and wanting go hand in hand. And actually, Baba knows what he's doing. And this has really helped me too, because it's like, it reminded me of what I've always said: nothing happens to me, everything happens for me. So, there you go. So I don't know, I kind of rambled a little bit. Sorry.
No, no, beautiful. And that's a great saying. No, things don't happen to me, they happen for
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
Great, beautiful attitude.
Wow. Well, always something, huh? And Janet.
Well, in this first long paragraph, the first long sentence paragraph, what stood out to me was blissfully relieved of the burdens of wanting or desiring anything at all, having everything in his love. And I just felt that that was such a pointer for me, a road sign that cleared away some of the debris, because it's like his love is really what I yearn for, and what, when I experience it, does feel complete regardless of the events of my life or the world or anything. Yeah, and so that love is from that realm that you guys, people have been talking about, of outside and yet inside the myopic events, and so it gives me a pointer where to aim, and that's just for his love, and all the rest feels like a bit of debris. Even, I must be honest to say, even more words. I mean, different words point for different people, but for me, those are the words that are the pointer, and other words, it just needs to be cleared away because easily get caught in confusion, and that isn't confusing to me.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
And Rosalie?
That is something funny. It's take my mind, Baba, but no dementia, please.
Take my mind, what?
Baba, but no dementia, please.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I've been so just so astounded by, I remember in school learning the 10 Commandments, and, you thought, I don't want to kill anybody. And it says, do not take a life. It's just so extreme. And this how to love God is so good. It is just so perfect. It's so subtle. And just this one, speaking of the wanting machine, if we endure, just the word, if we endure our lot with patience and contentment, accepting it as his will, we are loving God. I have this friend he's in a very bad way. He's not a Baba lover, but I says, he's physically suffering and he can't find any doctor to fix it. They want to give him pain meds, but he wants to get it fixed without the total loss of consciousness. And he's gotten so desperate. And I says, I don't know, doctors in South Carolina, they're probably not the cream of the cream, but you might find someone. But I says, you could say Baba, Baba, Baba. I says, Baba said it's the ultimate weapon, I says, you need the ultimate weapon. So believe it or not, he's saying Baba, Baba, Baba. And the man is in this extreme pain. It's like, pretty amazing. But what I was wondering is, like, we're such a country of quick fixes, like the opioids or kill the pain. And I'm certainly not one to be in like physical pain, but it's hard to draw a line. You like, say if you were in acute pain and you could, it could take you out to the other side. I mean, what point became painkiller? And it's just really it's a real quandary, in our country, because we're quick to do the painkiller. I mean, it's epidemic, really. I was wondering what people think about that, because Wendy was talking about hospice, and one, it would be the worst thing to take one's life, but in a way, if you're totally throw yourself into unconsciousness by taking painkillers, are you taking your life? I mean, you're like a vegetable. So it's a tricky subject, one's lot, Anyway, it's food for thought.
Yeah. We'll keep that in our consciousness and see what we get, what answer comes through.
Right.
And Marcia?
Well, I can identify with that because I had surgery when I was very young, and I've been always having a pain. And lately, with all the activity, it's gotten worse. So, I'm deciding, should I take Tylenol? Should I do this? Should I do that? But then I don't want to affect my mind because I want to stay clear for Baba. You know what I mean? So it's like a real conflict I could see, At some point, when you have a lot of pain, I suppose it's okay to take Tylenol. But when do you take a step further and take a painkiller or find out about the medical marijuana? But I don't want to be clouded, you know what I mean? I don't want, when I have my dying moment, I want to remember Baba. I don't want to be in a fog, that's how I feel. So,
yeah.
So you decide to suffer, and that does bring you closer to Baba, but it doesn't feel very good. Yeah.
Yeah, when Fred Winterfeld was dying of cancer, and he was stuck at times taking morphine, but then he had Baba's present. He had Baba physically there. I mean, well, in a chair next to him, he could see Baba. But then, when he took the morphine, it relieved the pain. But then, he lost that intimacy with Baba. That personal intimacy. So he would take as much pain as he could, and be there with Baba before he would take the morphine. And then he would lose it, and so he was dealing with that profoundly, that same thing that you're talking about, Marcia.
Yeah, I know he said don't do drugs and don't do hallucinogenics and all that, but at what point did some people take pain things when they felt pain? I just want to know what, I don't want to mess up, but sometimes, it's like really terrible. So, I don't know what Baba said. I know, is it okay if something's painkiller is recommended by a doctor and you just take it when you absolutely have to, Because I've had more, I was in the hospital, and this, I don't really talk about it, but I had 50 blood transfusions when I was 18, and I almost passed away. And I was never addicted to drugs once I got out of the hospital because I can control that. But like right now, I'm having pain now, and I'm like, I'm really sick of pain, but I don't want to clog my brain. So it's like, I made a decision just to, kind of see what happens. Anyway, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Peter?
Thank you. I was going to respond to something else. I was listening intently to what Cindy James was saying, and one of the other women on the meeting. And then to respond to what Rosalie said, because I do have advocacy around the subject of medication. I remember years ago thinking about intently, almost to a fault, whether to go on antidepressant medication and all these other medications for ADHD, depression, anxiety, what have you. And I remember reading a book called The Antidepressant Fact Book by Dr. Peter Breggin. And after reading that book, which floored me, I came to the conclusion I won't be going on any unless I feel that there's no other alternative. And having said that, before, when I had experimented with different medications but through the VA, I also remember that I looked at God in a pill. I wanted to know what Mayor Baba said about taking medication, because some of the medications were, I think, like pharmaceutical drugs. And I was wondering, is this going to be okay? Because I quit doing drugs a long time ago. And to paraphrase it, God in the pill said, as long as the medication is prescribed by a competent physician, it's okay. And as long as I take it as prescribed. So with the medications I did take, I took them as prescribed, although I didn't feel the benefits outweighed the liabilities. The downside far outweighed the benefit, or at least it outweighed the benefit. So I didn't go on them anymore. And also, I remember a while ago, I was contemplating going to someone help me out, naturopathic college. And also, I went to an interview with Whole Foods, and it was like a panel interview or a group interview, and we needed to do a skit on how to deal with a customer. And my skit was taken, my idea, and it had to do with, do you go to a doctor to take a pill, or what do you do naturally? In the list of natural, the list was long of what we had to do for natural remedy things. Like, okay, get exercise, get sunlight, take your supplements, eat your food, eat your veggies, juice, blend, all that. And I had, how can I say this? I threw my own brand of humor in there, which got a lot of laughs. Because what's the other alternative? Take a pill. It almost sounds like a no-brainer to take medication. No-brainer to take medication based on mass media, of what mass media tells us. And I think if Wawa's on its screen would talk about get good sleep, eat well, get sunlight, do your meditations, we'd be in a whole better place rather than them creating the other paradigms that I think are more fear-provoking. I'm trying to think how to wrap this up. You know, I also, when it comes, thankfully, I think Eric brought up what do people do when they are going to take medication? Because to me, that people have freedom to choose whatever they're going to do, and that was take his name. And it blew my mind hearing that the Mondelez took medication. I'm like, okay, well, if the Mondelez taken it, there's got to be a reason for it. And I don't feel the power to judge the Mondelez in what they're doing. Also, based on what Dowji said, I love that they gave the strategy that when anyone takes medication, take his name. I take it that if anyone would get vaccinated, take his name, and they will be underneath his divine protection. But yeah, I have a lot of vehemence with what Rosalie was saying with natural remedies as opposed to allopathic. Many times I just think it's a no-brainer that natural remedy is better, but I've come to respect the other side of it, because when people are in pain, I have a low tolerance for pain. I hate to say it, but I have a low tolerance. So if I start getting in a little bit too much, I think I would reach for something, but maybe I just make it so that I keep them. I feel like high emotional pain, but low body pain, so to speak. Save for the arthritis. Dave Harville, I'll pass it back. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah.
And Paula?
Well, Baba was really practical, and extreme pain is debilitating. It wears you out. It just wears you out. It wears you out mentally, physically, and spiritually. And so, like when something like this happens, what they tell you is just keep ahead of the pain. Don't let that cycle start. You know, because it is a cycle. Once it starts, then it increases, and it's hard to get a handle on it. And there's simple, you know, like I'm just doing, what am I doing? I'm doing Tylenol. And there's a muscle relaxer too. I don't do too much stuff, but, you know, it's like, it's hard to remember Baba when you're really, really hurt. And it's the best thing to do when you're really, really hurt is to remember Baba. So, you know, it's an opportunity. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I have two comments. I'm reading right now, Growing Up with God, Sheila Fenster, Val's daughter, and she tells a lot of stories of being in Guru Prasad and being around Baba. And Baba would tell, go here, get her some pain pills. You know, he was, you know, I think that I'm not so concerned about using pain medicine. Of course, if it's prescribed by a physician, of course, I guess we'd have to say that. The other thing is that when you take the tablet, remember that story where the Monley get to this place and there's, I don't know if it was typhoid or something, and Baba says, no medicine, he says, and he sends water around, take my name. Then at other times, he tells people, take my name when you take your medicine. So I put that in the mix of what I just said. And then if you were to become unconscious or semi-conscious where you can't really remember Baba, it's like going to sleep. At night, before you go to sleep, aren't you repeating Baba's name before? And then you aren't connected anymore. So I would, for me, if I had to give any sort of comment to anybody that asked me personally, I would say like that. Don't be concerned about it. Baba said, use the medicine. He even told people to do it. He wasn't concerned, and he told people to take his name. And he tells people to take his name before you go to sleep. And you're actually going to sleep if you happen to take medicine. So I can see that point. And I can also see, just to add, that someone we were discussing had could feel Baba next to them. And I could understand that person not wanting to get out of that frame of mind also. And then you wait until, well, it's too much now. And like, Paula said, it is debilitating. And then you can't think of Baba anyway. So I don't see a big deal as far as, you know, what to do about it, because Bob, I think, would, if a heart is in the right place, and if I'm making any sense babbling like this, that's the way that I would look at it. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. No, very good, Ray. Yeah. It's kind of like, is the physical state you're in impairing the flow of the love in the situation? If you have a migraine and it causes you to withdraw from everyone, maybe if you can correct the migraine so that you're in a more giving state. I mean, love can determine just how much you want to dip into the medication. Yeah.
Prakash?
Jai Baba. Yeah, I mean, the thought that take medication with his name is definitely the way to go. But I have one story of somebody who was actually refusing to take the medication because he says, Baba would take care of me. And and that's when he was told that Baba would, require that you take the medication because this is not your body. As long as you think this is your body, you have a problem right there. So he says the body is there for your soul to experience the reality. So the idea that if you don't treat your body, you're not giving that soul a chance to one day realize the reality. So to that extent, take medication. That's the way to go, it appears. Jai Baba.
Yeah. And Rosalie.
Well, I have to share this. This is in the Blue Bus Tours book. I think they were going to Sri Lanka, Baba, with the women mandali in the Blue Bus time. And it says, at first, Baba rejected the idea of immunizations altogether. Vishnu had written to Chanchi on September 23rd. You know, Baba and a few, we call them the invisible ladies, Mira and the Mandali ladies. But it's required. So then it says, Baba changed his mind, and although he still objected to the inoculations, he arranged for a female doctor to come to Upper Mehrabad on October 16th. Margaret Kress recalled the strange manner in which the immunizations were administered. A local woman came up the hill to vaccinate us. She did not inject the serum. She scrubbed the top of the arm, removed the skin, and rubbed the venom onto this place. The victim was then rushed outside onto the compound, and there was seized by friends who with great vigor scrubbed the serum off. In most cases, nothing entered the bloodstream. Only one or two had slight reactions. Baba did not tell us why he seemingly objected to the injections. So, you know, it's like, and as far as if doctors prescribe, I mean, how many real super ethical doctors are there? You know, it's like, you know, it's a whole can of worms in a way.
Yeah.
Strange story.
Yeah.
That's page 463 in the Blue Bus Tours.
Meher Prasad?
Okay. You know, this, I don't know if this is helpful to anyone, but this is very helpful to me. There is a Baba quote that goes, I want you to be healthy so I can pulverize you in my love. I always remember that. And whatever it takes for us to be healthy, no matter what, you know, what kind of pills and all. If you're not healthy, he cannot do his work on us. So I always remember that quote whenever I'm sick. I want you to be healthy so I can pulverize you in my love.
Beautiful. Hey, let's see if we can go on, get a start on the next chapter.
Chapter 20, Spiritualizing Our Lives. Robin, care to read?
Spiritualizing Our Lives. The quote by Mayor Baba, we have to feel in our heart of hearts that only God is real. He alone exists. He is in us all. He alone is to be loved, God and God alone. Mayor Baba is spiritualizing the world, and as time passes, more and more people will sing the tune of the spiritualized life. Baba's work, not only with his disciples, but with all of humanity, is to raise our consciousness from the bondage of the material realm, where we are caught in the conflict of the opposites, and to change our focus from the exterior creation to Him, to God, so that instead of being dictated to by opposites, our impulses will be dictated by Him. The new task for humanity is to learn how to begin relinquishing the false self.
And Robin, why don't you go read the next section?
A temple on earth. Mayor Baba explains quite a bit about the life of the spirit, not only in the discourse so named, but also in various other discourses. He says, the life of the spirit is the expression of infinity, and as such knows no artificial limits. He also says, when one's true adjustment He also says, when one's true adjustment between spirit and matter is secured, there is no phase of life that cannot be utilized for the expression of divinity. Spirit is our true identity. We really are spirit having a physical experience, whereas most people mistakenly believe that we are a body and that we might have a spirit. Spirit is the part of us that goes on after we drop the physical body, and it is our real life. But when it is tied in with the mind and the ego and misconceptions about values, it can develop cravings and identify with those cravings. However, Baba makes it clear that the physical body is important in the spiritual life. It plays a vital part in the dynamic of spiritual unfoldment. In fact, realization, merging with the divine beloved, has to take place while one is in a physical body. What Baba says about the body is really to be taken literally. If the body yields to the claims of the spirit as it should, it is instrumental in bringing down the kingdom of heaven on earth. It becomes a vehicle for the release of divine life, and when it subserves this purpose, it might aptly be called the temple of God on earth.
That is my jam. That is just my most favorite thing. It's what Radiant Health, when I was doing it, was all based upon. And that notion that our bodies can yield to the claims of our spirit, and to know, like, to ask that question, I've asked with Baba, I would let it in that, what are the claims of my spirit? And to yield to that so that I can literally be a vehicle for the release of divine life, an instrument for bringing the kingdom of heaven down on earth. Like, what a life worth living that is. Like, that's just worth living. That's worth getting up for. It's worth thinking about. It's worth surrendering to. It feels good. It's not dull. It's not for the faint or weak-hearted. But what an incredible gift. And to our bodies, like our bodies, we are this flower. It has no use beyond its shining hour. I believe our soul goes on, but I like to anthropomorphize like the cells of my body. And I think, like, I want to give them that experience too. I want to keep myself healthy so Baba can pulverize me and pulverize my ego and all that kind of stuff. And so that I can literally let it flow through. And having that experience, it is humbling and enlivening. It is like the infinite patience and infinite longing merging together. And I just have like glimmers of it. So yeah, that paragraph, that's my jam.
Beautiful. Beautifully said, Cindy. You captured it lovely.
I can't remember where I was, whether it was in India but it was with Baba family anyway. And if I remember right, everything is set up in your body for you to go through this lifetime, like your eye color, your hair color, whether your teeth are good or whether you have, a straight spine or a crooked spine, yada, yada, yada. So everything is so perfectly lined up for us to make that connection, to surrender, to become the best we can be, to love him. Have I got that right? Or did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, I mean, to be a perfect vehicle.
Yeah, like that everything's been done to give us the opportunity to become conscious and be the best we can be, and to love God and appreciate. Yeah, you gave me one foot larger than another, for a reason, or you gave me one arm, or, whatever it is, that there was a purpose behind it for us to be the best we could be, to serve him. Right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jay Baba. Not that I need to be right.
The love can come through any vehicle, whether it's blind or infirm or vital. Yeah.
Yeah. Because my grandmother was blind. All my grandparents lived with us. So I spent a lot of my childhood in the dark, seriously, because she didn't turn the light on. And as things happened in my life, being able to navigate in the dark, like I'm pretty good at that. It really worked to my favor in a couple of life situations, let me tell you. So at the time it was like, we could turn the light on here, but she said, why?
Yeah.
Okay then. What do I know? I'm only a kid. Anyway, Jay Baba.
Yeah, Jay Baba. Yeah.
I like that point of view. And Janet.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of reflect back to something Jeff said quite a long time ago about, for me, this whole thing about the body being a vehicle and what Cindy said and all of that is wonderful and radiant. And what Jeff said earlier, it's like being able to experience that regardless of what is happening to us physically in the body. I mean, we could be infirm, we could be, that's when the challenge gets great. I guess I have my own personal sense of I hold back a little bit because I've been with groups of people in the past who look upon health in the body as kind of like, if I'm healthy, I'm doing God's will, and if I'm not healthy, I'm doing something wrong, and that and so to really be open to ourselves and to one another, regardless of our body's experience, that the Spirit's experience in us is where we're really wanting to place the emphasis, and we want our bodies to be as healthy as they can for that Spirit. But I don't really know what healthy looks like. Maybe healthy looks like sick, at some times, or healthy looks like not well. And I just feel like for me, it's important to keep my mind open to all possibilities of what health looks like and healing looks like, and trust in the whole movement and what happens with Spirit within us. Trust in that. And sometimes in my own experience, that has become most profound when things haven't looked or felt quite right.
Yeah, great, wonderful. Well, we got more into the body this time than I would have thought. But hey, we're getting up to that age where, not Angela. I mean, she's young, but I remember Adi used to say, "It's great to grow." Adi K. Rani, it's great to grow old with Baba, but it's not great to grow old in the body. I mean, because he had arthritis and everything like that, but the pain caused him to talk about, when he talked about Baba and shared Baba, he forgot the pain in his body for the time being. Same with Balkat Shuri. Those guys were in a lot of pain, but they loved to talk about Baba because for the time being, when they were talking about Baba, they were forgetting the pain that they were that would otherwise be there. Hey, so we're up to that time. We have a few moments of silence here. Jai Baba. I just was curious, did anybody have any thoughts when we're getting up there toward the end of this book and all that? Does anybody have any thoughts about what to do next after we come to the end of this book? What we had kind of put that out as something to think about.
So the issue is that Jeff would like to take a break. Jeff Wolverton, that is, not Asbel.
Well, I think it might be a nice break. I mean, to go back through this immediately again, I don't know if you guys quite...
But my thinking was that in this time slot, since everyone is used to meeting at this time, we could continue to hold the space open, and Prakash would be able to open the meeting and help do the tech part, and this discussion can continue. So either you pick a book as a group, we pick a book that we want to focus on, either Effort and Grace itself again, or discuss it amongst ourselves without Jeff, or we pick another book, maybe As Only God Can Love, because that's Darwin's other book. Or we can make it free form. We can make it just another refectory conversations kind of a meeting, and people just come together and discuss freely. So
we could go into into breakout groups too, where you can actually get to talk with some of these people that you've seen on the screen, in smaller groups, and oddly enough, we do a thing on Saturday, and we kind of break up into groups, and the discussions somehow come up. I mean, we don't have any particular topic, but someone in your little, what do you call it, breakout room has something that they're pondering, or there's something that's capturing their attention, and it leads naturally into a very kind of organic discussion of Baba. So, and that's another option. So
we've got some hands. Marcia?
Yeah. At first I thought, well, this would be great because every time you read it, you go deeper and deeper and find different things. But then it also appealed to me that Darwin has another book. So I kind of would go either way, Maybe we could do a new book and then go back later to Effort and Grace.
Yeah. I mean, I feel if we didn't record it, I would I'd feel a little more inclined to do anything. I mean, I can show up, But anyway, go ahead. There are other hands.
That's cool. And Elizabeth?
I was curious. I know nothing about this other book, As Only God Can Love. Does anyone know how long it is and basically what it's about?
It's his autobiography. It's his life from early years all the way till the end.
It is this long.
Yeah. So it's a biography. It's not in the same way. It wouldn't stimulate discussion in quite the same way. But it's Baba's life, his life with Baba and his life before Baba. Yeah,
that would be a very different kind of discussion.
Yeah,
than what we're talking about here.
And Peter?
Alrighty. Just I'm trying to remember what I wanted to say last week, and I wanted to piggyback on what a number of people said. One was what Elizabeth said, and also I remember Shraddha and I think Mayor Prasad, where I trust the group to come up with the best solution. I think whatever is decided will be great. Also, to piggyback on what Elizabeth said, I like the way the group does it now, which we read and then comment as we feel inspired to comment, keep it natural and free flowing. And my inner comedian says, how can we, with a title of this group being Effort and Grace by Jeff Wolverton, how can we have any other book in there other than Effort and Grace? However, if we decide to, great. Also, quite frankly, I couldn't agree more that Jeff could totally use a break. It amazes me when I thought about how many times Jeff has showed up for the meeting week after week after week.
Mm-hmm.
It is
so are all of you, though.
It's quite well. It's one thing to come and show up for a group, but having chaired meetings, it's another thing to come and have to facilitate a group as well. So yeah, I can totally understand Jeff wanting to take a vacation, and hope you enjoy it. And I'm not really familiar with the other book. However, I trust the group to make a great decision no matter which way it goes. And for now, I'll pass.
Yeah.
Ron?
So just for myself personally, I like the smaller format with the breakout rooms because I really want to interact with people and give people more of a chance. And I'm noticing that a lot of the people in this group, it's a fairly large group, do like to share. And I think that's what it's all about, is for Baba lovers to be sharing their thoughts and their ideas. You might hear something new that grabs you. You might say something that grabs somebody else. And so I look to be involved in those kind of groups more than I would the other. But I'm sure other people, are just, they don't have my affinity for the smaller 5 to 8 people group where you can really have a conversation.
Good. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Robin?
I agree. I would either want breakout groups or just the whole group, but just have it be an open discussion, at least for a little while, and see how that goes. I would love to do Effort and Grace again eventually, because it's an endlessly deep bunch of stuff. I don't think that reading Darwin's other book would generate the kind of discussion that we're getting such a benefit from. And I agree with Jeff. I think if it's not recorded, people might feel more comfortable. I don't know. It's especially if it's breakout rooms, you wouldn't record it anyway, right?
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just
yeah.
appreciating like what we were told, that sharing our mystical experiences is the way to get closer to God. I'm all for that.
Yeah. What she's referring to is Erich was asked, is Baba going to become a religion? And Erich said Baba was adamant this time that it not become a religion. And the person said, well, how can it be kept from becoming religion? And Erich said, this was in 71, something like that. If his lovers would get together in small groups and share their mystical experiences, that it could be averted. I think later on he would have used the term inner experience. If we share our personal experiences of Baba, you can't make a religion out of it, because you've got everybody is a whole different country in relation to Baba. Yeah. There can't be a make. Yeah. Anyway. That's
Marsha?
I think I like the idea of not being recorded, and then kind of like, what if we just took Effort and Grace and opened it up on that day? Because it seems to be whatever we read seems to be appropriate to a lot of people at the same time. Might be an idea, or just to leave it open. But I really like the idea. Took me a long time to come out and tell people stuff, and I don't really feel like being out there all over the place. So, I mean, maybe it's, I think, a small group thing, and then go from there, you know? It's like just that we're meeting and we get together and read something and then want to break up into groups, and we can do that, right? But let's not set a structure, because that becomes a thing that you have to do. And I don't want to think I have to do this or do that, you know? I like the idea of it being free and open, because that's what Baba wanted. He doesn't want us to make a religion. That's what he's trying to stop. You know, look what happens with all these religions. People go in temple and they do junk, and then they say, it's okay because I gave it all to God today. You know, I don't think that's how he wants us to live. Anyway, bye-bye.
Jeff Asbell.
So before this meeting, Jai Baba, everyone, before this meeting, I was listening to this incredible program that Angela had on April 21st with Laurent. I don't know how you spell his last name.
Laurent
Weichberger.
Weichberger from Asheville. And if you haven't seen it, and I have to thank Angela, somehow you sent this to me. One of the most beautiful gifts I've received in my life from any human being. And I thank you. If you haven't seen this, it's about letting go and forgiveness. I mentioned this April 21st wonderful gathering because there probably were about 15, 18 people on it. And I guess because of Laurent and the people who were drawn, the subject was all about forgiveness and letting go. And what I'm really trying to say is the people were so relaxed about intimate, emotional, psychological questions that whoever watches this, the future generations, not just, you know, our contemporaries, they are going to benefit from that enormously. And it can be watched more than once. With these breakout groups, I would just ask people to look at how they feel and to question their need not to be on camera. And I say that respectfully because I used to be a very shy guy and a very quiet guy and easily intimidated. However, when others watch these talks, and they do, and they will in the years to come, to hear us talk is like us wanting to hear us talk when we couldn't hear us talk, and we are for many, many, many months. And this is extremely important conversations, extremely nurturing conversations. And of course, especially it brings us closer to Baba. It brings us closer to our own interior life. So in my own way, the most significant thing I could possibly say is to ask every one of us to think about just, you know, ego. EGO means edging God out. We don't have to edge God out by letting our ego say, you can talk more personally off screen without it being videoed. I think it's wonderful to be able to say, so people hear a very personal question. Your question is the same question as almost everybody else in the group. Your feeling is almost the same feeling as anybody in the group. I know we're not supposed to speak in generalities like that, but I think with this particular group, which is kind of very spiritual family artery of Meher Baba's being, oh my, these talks are so appreciated by people who listen to it, who are not online, and in the future. So I would ask people to just take a look. Can you let go a little bit And that April 21st talk is all about letting go and surrendering, not to my request, by the way, but about our life with Baba and forgiving and surrendering. April 21st, I'm telling you, one of the most beautiful hours you could spend on this high-tech little box, which is an incredible invention. So
I put the link in the I put the link in the chat.
Yeah, oh, this
It's
is
actually the 25th.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you.
So I just want to say I basically agree with what Cindy James put in the chat and Marcia has said. I think it would be really nice to stick with Effort and Grace, like Effort and Grace, sharing our mystical experiences or sharing our inner experiences. And then I think the breakout groups would be a different way of doing it. That would be nice. I personally would not want it recorded. I think too many super personal things come up, and I think that's easier done if you're in a one-on-one with no recordings, like if you were meeting face to face, someplace. But that's my suggestion.
Rosalie?
Well, I like the idea of not recording. It is an open meeting, so anyone from any part of the world that wants to come to it can come. And I find, it's like, it's Darwin's opus. It's so good. It's so open. It's so functioning practical, that it's the hot book of the hour, and I think it draws every other thing we're learning in to a functioning level. And I don't like the idea of you not being there, Jeff, because all your contact with Darwin and Eric that you are contributing, it will be more restful if it's not recorded. Like, I wouldn't want to be working at the center and have things being recorded all the time, that would be no. But at any rate, the book is just so good. And it could include, people could bring things about his life because other people have that book, and it's, I think at this point in time, the pandemic, we don't know what faces us in our normal world. So I think it's especially relevant to air these things. Yeah, it's just very beneficial. And we could also have it that at a point in the discussion, someone would say, can we do a breakout room? We can have both, sort of, if it came down. Yeah, it could be kind of fluid.
Yeah, one of the reasons I'm going to have to start working during the day as the center opens up, so that kind of changes, and my days off are Tuesday and Wednesday. But anyway, we'll see about that. There's some more people there. Who's next? I think Martha's next.
Yeah, just quickly. After Rosalie started speaking about, keeping it with effort and grace, I was like gravitating towards that. I think everyone will gravitate towards anything, but I think we need to have somewhat of a plan, like this week, maybe we'll do effort and grace. Maybe, next week we can, go online and to the website. There's different websites that where it's all about Baba's, that's written all about sanskaras, and we can, read that and talk about that. There's just it can be open forum and go with the flow. I'm open for anything, and Jeff, you will be missed, but we totally understand. Jai Baba.
Yeah. Heidi.
I'm thinking, do we have one more session to complete the book? Is that the idea?
We might have 3 more. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, with the discussion, right. But I like Cindy's idea about maybe sharing some of the hosting, because the basic structure of reading in whatever order we decide to do it, and then having discussion is just kind of core to what I think Darwin intended. And then the umbrella idea of effort and grace, and then his subtitle, Open Secrets in Mayor Baba's Discourses, just stimulates a lot of practical awareness. And all of us, I think, I've learned so much because, you know, all of us have come to talk about issues in relation to the reading that touches us as individuals. And yet we still, you know, come back together to balance out as a group our path with this book. And there's more to the book, I think, we haven't discussed, meets the eye, maybe some of Darwin's background and how he came to even write this book or understand what he understands. And that'll probably come out. So I'm hoping that we'll continue the integrity of Effort and Grace as a title, and that we've all had enough experience to pick up the leadership here and there and offer opportunities for people to share that. And I was just wondering, I would not like to see Effort and Grace disappear from the Zoom format. If you know, if Circle Center or some of the other places open up, and then there might be an in-person group like it was before. What do you think, Jeff? I don't even know if that's going to happen. But,
Yeah.
but if it does, you know, there's, you know, other commitments. But this is just really important. So I hope it'll continue, and that we'll share the responsibility and see where it goes.
Yeah. And, you know, one thing that we you know, I sometimes say this is kind of plan B and there's plan A. We are kind of moving, I mean, I'm just my observation, we're moving from plan B into plan A. And we haven't fleshed out plan A. I mean, more directly with Baba, there's kind of working through your son's scars and everything to where you kind of get a sight of Baba. But once you get the sight of Baba and you're, you know, bringing Baba into everything and you see everything as a manifestation of Baba, that's, you're starting to move into plan A. And that would be a nice thing to examine, and different ways that people experience that. You know, I mean, I think people have really internalized all that Darwin has said here at the heart level. But then getting from the heart to the heart of hearts, you know, from the heart to the soul, that's yet to explore. Anyway, Mayor Prasad.
Yeah, I think Effort and Grace will be great again to read, and you know that's and you know, any other book is also good. I think I said this last time, but no matter what it is, you know, Baba will find a way to work on us to bring, you know, to bring us closer, bring each of us closer to him. And that's really what I have found, that over the past year and a half of these Effort and Grace meetings have done to me personally, is that each of them really has brought me closer to him, and I'm sure it's the same for each of you. And I don't think it's really the book itself that caused it. I think it's Baba using that book to bring us closer to him. So no matter what it is, you know, he has a definite knack of doing it through no matter what it is. He has a way of doing it. You know, he finds a way.
Yeah, beautifully said. Yeah, well, kind of let this kind of marinate in your consciousness, all these various things. I do feel, I do feel that the Effort and Grace, the book is so, it brings the spirituality down to a practical level. I mean, we're talking about the practical application of these truths, and to hear how each of us does this is, I find it just so helpful. So and there are other, I'm sure there are other writings of Baba's that do the same, but this is covering all of Baba's discourses, a lot of things that Baba has said. Darwin has a very comprehensive sort of he's drawing upon all the different things that Baba has said in this one book. Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, just let it marinate. I kind of get a little more of a sense of how people are feeling, and yeah, there might be we could try. We have had 2 sessions where it's been recorded, the whole book from beginning to end. We could have one phase where we don't record and come together, and then we can always come back a 4th time.
Jeff, can I ask you what's behind your thinking? What do you think is going to happen like better if it's not recorded? Where are you coming from with that?
Huh. Yeah, that's a good question. I guess
Can I put words in your mouth?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, do you think that there are things that people are holding back because it's recorded that then would come out and there'd be more depth to it or more personal growth from it? Or because I think that might be.
No, that's a possibility. I do feel though that this is a pretty safe environment. I don't think people are. I mean, there may be people that are holding back a little bit, the fact that it's being recorded, who might be, a little more forthright, or more. They may reveal a little bit more things that are they don't necessarily want to get out on the airwaves, out on the cyberspace. But yeah, let's all of you kind of just just keep that. I always think like Elizabeth, she would put a question on the mantelpiece there, a question before Baba, and sleep on it, and then see what comes in the morning. And I kind of do that. I kind of put these things out there, and then just see, let it things lie fallow, and then just see what comes up. There's no like time, no real hurry. Yeah, Paula.
I'll get this straight sometime. No, I think you touched on it, Jeff. It's like if people feel emotionally safe, and I think we have created a really emotionally safe space. I don't care if it's recorded or not. It's like, but I just think that's kind of the crux of how different individuals feel, if they feel safe or if they don't feel safe. But I do in this group, and I think, and what I've noticed with our other Baba groups, it's like you've talked about how Baba's creating these internal links that we have with one another. it's like with the Baba groups that I've been in, they've all been like this. I mean, there's been really intimate things that are shared, and really safe spaces have been created in Baba where we can be honest with ourselves and each other. So that's kind of, what I think.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Paula. Rosalie.
I had a thought. I remember first meeting Darwin in Berkeley, and he was the first person that his voice held Baba for me. I just thought, oh my God. And I thought, here he is in his 90s, and he writes this book of, I mean, he was working on himself his whole life. It was his whole, he was such an effort. He made such an effort, but on the other hand, the balance, he has this incredibly beautiful devotional thing that, and the appreciation of grace and that time spent with Baba. I think the combination that goes into that book is, that's what makes it so pull you right in and make you want to work, and then all this discussion is how this one works, how they, it's so inspiring. The book is, I definitely think the book is a real springboard.
Yeah, I agree. And every time you go through it, I mean, I feel like I haven't even read it. And I've not only have we gone through this many times, but also I've heard all of these things said since the 70s, and it's all still kind of strangely new. Anyway.
Yeah.
So just kind of sit on it and see if how it forms in yourself, in your heart, and then we'll I think we're getting closer to what might work. I mean, if I were to do it at I would have to be at a later time after work, for me. But anyway. So anything else? Well, let's. We've already had our moment of silence. Let's say we'll have just one person say Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Let's have Marion. You say Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai for us.
3 times?
3 times.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Beginning now. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Thank you. And great that you're back.
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. So have a nice week.
Good night. Thank you. Jai Baba.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Jai Baba. Thank you, everybody.
Jai Baba. Thank you. Thank you very much.